Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video on my channel HAIRLICIOUSLY. In today's video, I wanted to give you an update on the 3 candidates who had won free hair transplants at Cosmedica with Dr. Acar. And this was back in January. And Dr. Acar was truly kind enough to offer these 3 lucky candidates a life-changing experience where they all got free quality hair transplants at Cosmedica in Istanbul, Turkey. I unfortunately was not able to attend the one back in January, but the good news is that Dr. Acar is planning on doing another free hair transplant giveaway at least once a year, and I'll likely be going to Turkey for a second time along with the next winner. So we are planning another giveaway in the near future, so make sure to stay updated for that. And before I share with you the 3-month update on the candidates who had undergone hair transplants at Cosmedica, I also wanted to share with you that Cosmedica is one of the hair transplant clinics that I would highly recommend. Dr. Acar has over 16 years of experience in successful hair transplantation, and this is with over 20,000 patients who had undergone procedures at Cosmedica. And I've personally had the honor to meet Dr. Acar in Istanbul as well as in Los Angeles, where we held a hair consultation conference last year. And he is by far one of the most passionate doctors that I have ever met. And I think the biggest thing that kind of stands out from Cosmedica compared to a lot of the other hair transplant clinics is the fact that they utilize the microsapphire and DHI hair transplantation technique, which not only really ensures precise incisions, but also accelerates healing. And also by using the DHI pen, it offers a 360-degree protection for hair grafts during hair transplantation. You'll see from the photos that I will be sharing shortly, but the redness on the incision sites around the hairline are non-existent. And there's far less trauma to the area and also faster healing time. And one of the main advantages is their use of high definition LCD microscopes to really sort out the soft hairs from multigrafts. And not all single grafts are the same. And if a clinic doesn't differentiate between the softer single grafts compared to the regular single grafts, it's going to result in the plug-in unnatural hair transplants that you see way too often from so many clinics. And I think this is really one of the most important aspects in a natural looking hair transplant, aside from good density or good angle placement. Separating the proper grafts and knowing that you just can't implant any type of single grafts for the hairline. They have to be, the softer single grafts into the hairline. Otherwise, it's not going to look natural. So our first candidate we have here is Andre, and he had 3,700 grafts that were implanted into the frontal portion of the hairline. And I believe he had around like 200, 250 grafts into the crown area. But Andre, I actually met him at the Los Angeles the hair consultation conference that we held last year, and you can tell that he has frontal recession on the hairline, and this is the hairline that they kind of drew out for him, which I think looks pretty good. And one of the benefits that Andre has is given his kind of African descent with curly hair, that's going to add in the illusion of more density with fewer grafts. And if you kind of look here, it's more of an aerial view with his head kind of tilted down. You can still see that recession, which is almost kind of like a Norwood 3. And then also kind of like the temples, you can see all the recession and the miniaturization of the hairs. And then here's his right side. They decided to rebuild his temporal point, which I think is going to kind of give him that masculine look because, it's already thinning out right there. And then also on the left side doesn't look as bad as the right side. And typically when it comes to hair loss, it's always going to be asymmetrical. But he is still receding here, and also they're also rebuilding this temporal point. And then here's another side shot. Good angle, good hairline design, I think. It's pretty solid. Here's another side view on the other side. Dome area, as you can see, it's pretty good. And also an aerial, you can kind of see the thinning right there. Andre said that he is on finasteride, which is going to definitely help with slowing down further progression of hair loss. And then this is with his shaved head. You can see all the area where they're going to implant the grafts. They're also going to kind of go a little bit behind to kind of be able to blend in. And the crown area, like I said, probably around 200-300. It's not much. He's probably going to have to come back for a second procedure, just kind of depending on how drastic of hair loss that area is afflicted with. But let's go and look at some of the other photos here. So they kind of drew out the donor area. That's where all the grafts are going to be extracted from using the DHI sapphire method. Here's another view. And then this is right after his hair transplant. So you can kind of see how there's less redness, and that's because the sapphire blade is a lot smaller compared to a lot of the traditional blades that are used at a lot of the hair transplant clinics. And also using the DHI sapphire method, the DHI implanter pen, which kind of provides that 360-degree protection. And this is why Cosmedica claims to have a 98% success rate when it comes to graft survival, which I think is pretty good. And then here's another view. You can see all the grafts that were implanted. And let me just kind of zoom in just to kind of show you guys how precise of the implantation is right there. It's very clean. You can see that there's pretty good density into the hairline. And then also if you look at the crown area, they did place a little bit of hair in there. And then also, you know, the aerial view of the grafts that were implanted into the crown. And then also the hairline here. I think they did a very good job of, just kind of reducing all that redness. And also the hairline placement looks on point. Same thing here. So post-op, it looks pretty good. And these 3 dots right here, I believe it was from the Regenera treatment, which is kind of like PRP, except for they extract the stem cells from the DHT resistant areas compared to, the traditional PRP, which would be taken from the arm and it's centrifuged. But there's a lot of studies backing up the use of Regenera Activa. And when I went to Cosmedica, I think it's been like 2 years now, I actually got this treatment done too. So it's highly recommended. It also helps with the overall healing process. And there are a lot of studies backing up regrowth and potential, reversal of hair loss. So let's go to look at his after results. This is about 3 months post-op. So I will say this, a lot of these people are in their ugly duckling stage. So some people might experience, better growth than others. But typically 3 months is kind of like where the hairs are trying to sprout out. And as you guys can tell in this photo here, his hairline is definitely more defined. And there's also good density here that's kind of building up. And it's going to grow in density and look better as the months progress by. Here's another view of the other side. You can kind of see all this kind of like wispy, thin hairs that are kind of sprouting out. But definitely the hairline is defined. And we can also kind of see the temporal points here where it kind of blocks off and kind of creates that 90-degree angle for that adolescent looking hairline. Here is another view. You can see all the grafts that are kind of sprouting out. And I'm pretty sure over the next few months, he's going to see a lot more density and growth. And he's going to see better results as time progresses by. But I think it's looking pretty good so far. He still has a long way to go. But also, like I said, given his curly hair characteristics, it's going to give the illusion of even more density compared to someone with just kind of straight hair. So yeah, looking pretty good. And that's kind of like what my hair kind of looked like during the 3-month progress. And it looks like he's on point. So this is kind of like another view almost kind of like away from direct light compared to like this one here. You can see, you know, more light that's kind of going through. But this one here looks pretty good for 3 months. So I'm really looking forward to what his 6-month results going to look like. And hopefully I will be able to give you guys a follow-up with his case. Now the next guy we have here is, let me see, it's Kevin. So let me see where his, so yeah, here it is. So Kevin, he had almost 5,000 grafts into the frontal portion of the hairline. Kevin had a more severe case of hair loss for someone his age. And as you guys can see here, a lot of the hair loss was afflicted into the frontal portion and also the kind of mid-scalp. He was also kind of thinning on the temporal points, so all of that was being rebuilt. And here's a better view. This whole area just was miniaturizing, and the hairline, the new hairline placement, I think, is what his native hairline should have looked like. So they didn't really go lower, which I think was a good idea given his age. You know, there's a good chance that he will continue to lose further hair. So they were kind of conservative, but also using, you know, 4,700 grafts, which is, you know, definitely not a small amount. Here's another view, good hairline design. All that area is going to be filled in. The other side also rebuilt that side right there. And then a side shot. And in his case, you know, the hairline, this angle right here is a little bit more, you know, kind of going back. And that's because had he gone, you know, more of a straighter type of hairline, that's a lot of grafts that would have been kind of wasted, in my opinion, given his degree of hair loss. So good hairline placement. The donor area looks pretty good. And I think that's probably not something of concern. That's more of like a cowlick, or, you know, just kind of like the way that the hair kind of, you know, just kind of splits or creases. Here's another good view of the extensive degree of hair loss. If you kind of zoom in, you can see, you know, this whole area just kind of needs to be focused on. So this is him after his shaved head. Also another view of all the area that's going to be, you know, just kind of being worked on. Here's another view. Let's see. Another view of his donor area. Now, he doesn't have that good of a donor area just because you can kind of see, you know, a little bit of thinning kind of going on here. It's not as noticeable when his hair is long, but you can kind of tell the difference where there's, you know, certain areas where it's kind of like lacking in density. And then post hair transplant, and, you know, I think it looks pretty good. A lot of the, you know, you can kind of see a lot of the singles here, a lot of naturalness. It's not as dense in the hairline, but as it kind of progresses back, you can see more density that's being added on, which, you know, looks a lot natural. And the good thing is, you know, he also has a lot of the baby hairs here, which you don't really typically see in a lot of people suffering from hair loss. Here's another angle, and it's looking pretty good. Side shot, and just kind of see how, you know, it's not as red compared to a lot of the other, you know, candidates or other people that you see from different hair transplant clinics that end up getting, you know, they're just super just dried up blood, super red. This is very minimal compared to a lot of the other cases that you would see. Here's another view, the donor area. And good thing for him is, you know, he's not having a severe degree of hair loss in the crown, which is definitely going to eat up a lot of grafts. Here's another aerial view, which kind of shows you the extent the extensive nature of his hair loss. And he also ended up using a few grafts from his beard. So Turkey is, known for using a lot of the beard grafts, more so to kind of reinforce the back of the area. You never want to use it for the hairline for obvious reasons. The beard hair is a lot more thicker and coarser, and you don't want to use it for the frontal portion, but anywhere else kind of behind the area for the mid-scalp or the crown, it actually works really well in kind of blending in with the existing native hairs. So for Kevin's case, he wasn't able to provide a lot of photos, but you can kind of see that his hair growth is definitely a lot slower compared to the first case that we saw. But definitely you can kind of see all the hairs that are kind of sprouting out. And it also kind of looks like he's had some degree of shock loss in some of the native areas. I believe that Kevin is also taking finasteride, so that's going to really help in his case. And also, you can kind of see the new the hairline. So before, he kind of had this whole area where it was just kind of like just receding and thinning out, but you can kind of see this area here, which is kind of growing out, and the new hairline placement, which really complements the size of his forehead. Here's another shot of the side, all the hairs that are kind of growing in. In an email, he told me that he felt like he wasn't really seeing much growth, but sometimes at 3 months you can't really expect that much. But from my experience and from kind of seeing where, comparing his case to my case, you can kind of definitely see all the hairs that are growing out. You can see that they're kind of growing out in the proper angle placement, which should be going out this way here. And then also the back of the donor area has healed up pretty nicely. And like I said, there is some degree of shock loss for some people, and this area should thicken up over the next few months. So pretty happy with his results as well. And now our final candidate is Max. And Max had a total of 3,500 grafts implanted into the frontal portion of the hairline. You can see that his hairline, his new hairline looks pretty good. His miniaturization was also kind of afflicted into the hairline and also the crown area, or I'm sorry, not the crown, the temporal points here, and also the temples. But in his case, it looks like they're not rebuilding the temporal points, just kind of like the temples and the hairline. He's able to kind of maintain the midlock here, and they're just more focusing on kind of rebuilding his natural hairline, bringing it down just a little bit. And 3,500 grafts, that's kind of like around the same amount of grafts that I received for my hairline. So, if everything goes as planned, he should get a pretty dense looking hairline. I think this is a pretty good hairline design. And the reason why, they really haven't been rebuilding the temporal point in his case is I think he already has sufficient area of density here. And there's no need for them to kind of expand it out. They could have expanded it out just a little bit, but I think it still complements his hairline, and I think it looks fine. Here's another view, side shot, the other side. His crown area looks pretty good. There's a little bit of thinning in this area, but at this point, it's looking pretty good. And also in his case, he also has curly hair, which is going to really help out creating the illusion of more density. So here's his head shaved. And then that area right there, 3,500 grafts. Donor area looks pretty good. Looks like he has a pretty decent amount of hair. And then this is right after his procedure. And I just can't emphasize enough just how, how good it looks, even just post hair transplant after a day or two. The redness is just almost non-existent. Just let's go and take a look at that right there. And I would say in a month or two, he's not even going to notice all that redness. Here's another shot of all the grafts that were implanted, and you know, just very minimal incisions and just redness, very clean, you know, transplant. Here's another up close view. Very good job. And you know, he looks pretty happy. And then his donor area. Let's go ahead and take a look at his donor area. Yep, it looks pretty good, pretty clean. It's going to heal up pretty nicely. And then finally, his 3-month post-op. There's a lot of good density. You know, in the 3 months, he's been able to grow out his hair out, and you can see a well-established hairline. Good density so far. Yeah, so if you can kind of see how the hairs are kind of growing out. It looks like his is kind of like on the same level or in terms of growth compared to Andre's, and you know, it's looking pretty good, looking pretty dense. And like I said, you know, I look forward to the 6-month results, and I feel like there's going to be a drastic change compared to 3-month to the 6-month mark. But hopefully this video has been educational for those who were interested in getting a hair transplant. I would highly recommend that you guys check out Cosmedica if you're looking for a quality clinic with exceptional results. I'm going to have the link to Cosmedica in the description box below. You can also sign up for a free online consultation with Cosmedica. So make sure to take advantage of that. They're going to go over the number of grafts that you're going to need, hairline placement, you know, all the good stuff, any questions that you might have. So make sure to check out the link. But that wraps up this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Take care.